Hello, this is part 2 concerning morality. I want, uh, first of all, you'll excuse me if at some stages, even inadvertently, I would seem to be addressing or referring to Christians more than people of other faiths. This is not because of anything particular, if not that I'm more familiar with Christianity than other faiths, but be aware that I'm not neglecting everybody and I value everybody. Previously, I talked about morality and the fact that I'm convinced that because this is a very interesting and stimulating and difficult question to answer, where we get our morality from, it doesn't mean automatically just by saying, well, we get it from God. It's just the answer out of this difficult question. Now I want specifically to address some people. I have to say that this is not because of direct experience of people that I know personally, but indeed in YouTube I've found a lot of people who have a certain approach toward people who are either of no faith or believe in other gods than their personal God. Often there is this kind of attitude, more or less, there is a strong belief, quite often, that you have to believe in the right God, which is your God, of course, and if not, you're just condemned to hell, regardless of how you behave. To me, this is kind of very hardly tenable belief. So it can have different manifestations. For example, it could be that you're convinced that if you believe in God, at some point, even if you do bad things, you're going to repent about those things, and in any case, your love for God and your faith in God will save you. Or a different manifestation of that is that you may just be convinced and say loudly that you're doing something in the name of God, who again you believe is the God. And because of that, you're justified sometimes doing things that can be questionable from the point of view of the morals of others. This can happen consciously and not consciously. But I'm still convinced that a lot of people would condone someone who believes in God doing from time to time evil things, rather than valuing an atheist, of a person of another faith, who is morally and generally speaking a better person overall. I think this is a very widespread conviction, and what I'm going to say about this is that I don't know. I mean, let's assume that there is God. So for a moment I'll agree with you. Well, then it becomes complicated. Is it the God that you're believing, or is another God? There is a God, it's your God. Now, do you really believe that he has these moral standards that he would condemn people who do good things because they're either atheists or believe in another God? And the only way to be saved is to believe in him, regardless of what you do, of how you act. What kind of moral standard is that, if it doesn't even meet the moral standards of humans? I mean, who would, in everyday life, who would just accept it? You want an example? I'll make you an example. So let's make this hypothesis. I have two sons, two kids. Now, one is, he's just terrible. He is kind of evil. He does all sorts of things to his brother. He harms him, he kicks him, he steals his toys, he breaks his toys, he goes around and then bullies with other kids. He does all these sorts of terrible things. Then at night it comes to me and it just says, Dad, I love you. I love you so deeply and so much. I know that you don't want me to do these things, but I'm repentant. And I really believe that you're the authority in the house. Then the other son, he's just shy, he's a good kid, he never harms anybody. He gets his kicks from his brother, he has all his toys broken by his brother, he never gets back at him in any way. He's good to every other kid. Then at night he kind of comes to me and then he says, Dad, you know this, I'm not really sure that I love you. I'm not really sure that you're my real dad. Now, under what kind of moral standard, if I were to decide about the fate of these kids? I mean, the bad son, yeah, he comes at night, he says that he's repented, he says that he loves me, that I'm the authority, but then the next day he will continue to do all this, all day long. He doesn't change, some days it's better, some days it's worse, but he does bad things. But he believes that he loves me, he believes that I'm the authority. And the other kid, my other son, who doesn't any harm to anybody ever, he's just very shy and he doesn't really, at least he doesn't say to love me. He isn't sure about my real authority in the house. But I would never complain about what he does. Now, under what kind of morality would you think that I would just value the first son, the first kid, in this sense? If I were to decide of their, if I had the power to decide about their life, their afterlife, and then let's say I were to say, the first kid, you love me, you're going to be in heaven for the rest of your life. And then to the other kid, I will just, in what way would I tell him, you're going to hell because you didn't love me, you didn't say to love me, you questioned my authority? What kind of moral standard that? What kind of just God would do that? I'm not saying this, I'm not comparing, don't misunderstand me. I'm not saying people do bad things because they believe in God and people who don't believe. I'm comparing people of different faiths but have different behaviors. Not to say that anyone is better because of this reason or that reason of their belief, but I'm just comparing people who have different behavior to question whether in fact, if there is a God, really is going to judge anybody according to his faith, to whether he believed in him rather than another God, or rather not believing in any God. Do you honestly believe that your acts will not be everything a God, if there is a God, will judge you from? Do you honestly believe that by either repenting of doing things in his names without really thinking carefully and long enough about whether you're doing the right thing will be enough to be saved? Do you really believe that by doing the good things, people, this God of these moral standards, high moral standards that we suppose higher than humans, would just send people of no faith or other faith, just because of that, to eternal torment? Do you really believe you won't be judged? Mainly, if not exclusively, because of your acts and nothing else.